Well, hey art students, it's Mrs. New here. Welcome back for a new 2D art project. Today we're going to be making abstract faces in the style of Modigliani. So if you're not familiar with Modigliani, he did kind of a specific style where the faces are very stretched out, they have long necks, they have little small lemon lips, sometimes hollow eyes. So Modigliani is the artist exemplar that we're going to use for this project. And these are just a couple examples that I have of previous student work that has taken place for this project. So this project is mixed media, meaning on these examples I have things like watercolor. This one has the watercolor with the saran wrap on top to make a specific texture. I've also used markers. You could use crayons or color pencil or black Sharpie, pen and ink. Whatever you decide to do. All right, so these are just a few examples. Tools you're going to need for this project are as follows. So first of all, you need a sketch of a human face with correct proportions. So this is one that we did in class where I provided a template here with a face that's cut into quarters, and we talked about where the eyes go and where the nose goes and the mouth goes on a typical human face with correct proportions. So this is what I'm going to be using to stretch out to make this abstract face. Other things I'm going to need are some tape, a ruler, a pencil, and some scissors. Okay. I also need some kind of background paper. You could use a piece of newspaper paper. I'm just using, newspaper or something recycled. I'm just using a piece of newsprint here because I happen to have a lot of it in the classroom. And then I'm going to need a final piece of drawing paper. Now this drawing paper is 12 by 18. So I want a nice piece of larger white paper for my final drawing, and then something that is going to be kind of more of a scrap piece of paper. So I'm going to set my things aside here, and let's talk about the first step. So step number one is going to be to take my image, and I am going to be cutting it up into strips, and I want to cut it up into at least, I would say, 7 pieces. Okay, now that can be easily done if you just flip over your paper and you take a pencil and just draw lines. I gotta grab my pencil here, unprepared. So I could just go here on the back of the picture and just start drawing lines. Now they could be evenly spaced or not, but I want to end up with, I would say, at least 7 sections of my sketch. Now I could also draw my lines going this way, and I'll show you what the difference will be here in a minute. But for my picture, I want it to be in this style of Modigliani with this long face and this long neck. So I'm going to go ahead and just draw some horizontal lines. So how many sections is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I might go ahead and number those. Okay, now I'm just going to take my scissors, and notice I haven't even really looked at the front to see where these are going to land, and it really doesn't matter, but I am going to kind of keep them in order as I cut. So I'm going to get in here, follow my lines, and cut this up. So what I'm going to be doing is actually stretching out the photo, and that is just one way to create abstraction. So now that we know how to draw a face the correct way, with correct proportions, what can we do as artists to kind of tweak that and change it and make it more unique? Artists like Pablo Picasso did a lot of abstract faces, and we're going to talk about him in class as well. All right, so there's all my sections kind of in order, and now I'm going to get my bigger piece of newsprint paper, this beige paper, and I'm going to go ahead and start to tape these down. So starting in order, I'm just going to kind of flip them over, and let's see what I did here. So what I did is I kind of cut it into these strips, these bacon strips. And what I'm going to do is tape it back down to my background, but I'm going to leave space in between each of the sections. So how much space you leave is kind of up to you, but I would try to make it kind of even if you can. And you could also decide, like maybe you want more space. Like maybe I want my nose to be nice and long. So maybe I'm gonna leave a bigger gap right there. And maybe my lips, I don't want them to be really big like that. So maybe I'll leave a smaller gap there. But try to put a gap in each section. And now with some tape, I'm just gonna tape these down. Every little piece gets taped down on both sides. And this is gonna become the template for my abstract face. So I'm gonna take some time and tape this all down. Get it all taped down, it might look a little like this one. Now you can see with this one, I actually took it and I actually did some movement here as well. So not only am I stretching out the face, but I am angling it kind of differently so that it creates kind of an S curve here. So that's an example of one that has been stretched out. Now here's another idea for you. If you wanted to do this in a different way, you could cut your face up, going the opposite way and actually stretch it more wide. That's just a different way to abstract your face, so that's an option. So here's a couple more examples of student ones that have been stretched out. So you can see the more pieces you add, the more play you have as to how to stretch them out. Now once you get it stretched out, what I would go ahead and do is take your pencil and you're going to kind of fill in these lines. So things might not line up exact, but you're going to kind of fill in the lines of like where the head would kind of be coming together, because there's these gaps here. So like my ear here, I might want to put that line in there, or like how the bottom of the ear comes. And some of this you'll have to just kind of guesstimate, and some you can kind of see, where your sketch was and sort of connect the lines in the gaps or the spaces that you left. This artist has done that very well with a ballpoint pen, so it's nice and easy to see. Then let's add some details. So maybe you want to come in here and this person added some wrinkles or some eyebrows or some hair hanging down, and just get an idea, the neck down here, of how this sketch could come together. So again, I might want to add the neck and shoulders down here. I might want this one to have like a hat on it or something, so I could adjust this here. Now my next step is going to involve the light table or possibly a sunny window. What I'm going to do is take this background paper, I'm going to take my nice drawing paper, and then using a light source, I'm going to shine through the light on the back, and I'm going to trace my abstracted face onto my clean piece of paper. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, and then I'll show you what this looks like when I have it all sketched on here. All right, so now I've got my sketch from my abstracted, stretched out template onto my nice drawing paper. And now is where the fun kind of comes in. I really want you to look at your drawing and see if you can make it interesting. For instance, maybe I want to add some additional sketches up here in the hair. Maybe I want to, I definitely want to add color. So now I want you to think about, maybe adding some additional drawing. So let me show you a couple examples, student examples of people who have done things like that. So here's an example where a student added a little crown, they added a piercing on the ear, they added some long hair, they added lots of details in the eyes. This one has more of that Modigliani style where the eyes are just simply black, and he did that with a lot of his paintings as well. But adding some details and kind of, adding to your character. Do you want to give it a shirt or clothes or a hat or earrings or horns? And I'll be showing you lots of different examples in class, okay? Now the next step is to think about what medium do you want to use, and what works really well for this particular sketch or project, I should say, is watercolor. So I want you to think back to the watercolor techniques we did, like salt, like saran wrap, like just wet in wet, and maybe start to fill in some of the colors. And remember, your person does not have to have skin-toned flesh. They can have blue flesh. They could have green flesh. Whatever colors you want to use are totally fine. You might think about filling in a color for the hair or the background. Do you want to have shapes in the background? Like what kind of colors do you want to use? And maybe start with some watercolor. Then you can go back in and start to add additional details with color pencils and markers. So for instance, the eyes on this one, I can tell are marker. There's some, drawing around the different lines with markers. You can also use color pencils and things like that and really have fun filling in the different colors. That is how you start the Modigliani abstracted face. And just as a reminder, you want to take your sketch, your drawing, go ahead and slice it up, stretch it out, tape it down, and then trace it onto a nice clean piece of paper and begin to think about your final abstraction and what you can do to make your character really come to life. I hope you guys have fun with this project. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you later. Bye.